Imagine being pregnant your entire adult life, nursing a toddler, raising a teenager, and keeping a third backup baby frozen in suspended animation inside your body, all at the exact same time. If a human tried to pull that off, society would collapse. But in the scorched, chaotic wasteland of the Australian outback, that is just an average Tuesday for a female kangaroo. We tend to think of motherhood in the animal kingdom as a pretty straightforward deal. You get pregnant, you wait, you give birth, you raise the kid, and you swear you are never doing it again until next season. Kangaroos looked at that standard biological blueprint, crumpled it up, and decided to run a 3-lane industrial assembly line that makes modern factory logistics look like amateur hour. She is, without a doubt, the most aggressively over-engineered mother on the planet. And the madness starts with her internal plumbing. If you were to open up an anatomy textbook for almost any standard mammal, like a dog, a horse, or a human, you would see one uterus and one birth canal. Marsupials, the family of pouched mammals kangaroos belong to, split off from our branch of the family tree well over 100 million years ago. And when they parted ways, they kept an anatomical setup that sounds like something designed by a sci-fi writer on a caffeine bender. A female kangaroo has 2 separate uteruses, and she has 3 vaginas. Now, before your brain short circuits trying to picture that, let us break down the blueprint, because every single tube has a very specific job. She has 2 side tunnels, known to scientists as lateral vaginas. These side tunnels are strictly for incoming traffic. They exist purely to transport sperm up to her 2 independent uteruses. And because nature loves symmetry, male kangaroos evolved a matching 2-pronged forked penis. It is essentially biology's version of a 2-prong wall plug, perfectly designed to deposit genetic material down both intake lanes simultaneously. So where does the third vagina come in? Right down the middle. Running between those 2 side tunnels is a central channel called the median vagina. That middle lane is strictly the exit ramp. It is the birth canal. Outside of giving birth, this middle tunnel in many kangaroo species is not even fully open. It is a temporary passage that literally opens up and seals back down when delivery time arrives. She has 2 dedicated intake valves for conception and 1 specialized exit chute for delivery. Why would evolution go through the trouble of building 2 separate wombs and a triple pipe transit system? Because a kangaroo's pregnancy only lasts about 33 days. That is less than an Amazon return window. After just 1 month of pregnancy, the baby is ready to be born. Except baby is a very generous word here. What actually comes out of that central birth canal is not a cute, fuzzy, bouncing joey. It is a blind, hairless, translucent pink blob, roughly the size of a single jelly bean, weighing less than a gram. It does not even have developed hind legs yet. It looks less like a functioning mammal and more like an unfinished gummy bear. And on day 1 of its existence, this tiny pink speck has to face the most brutal obstacle course in nature. With no eyesight, no help from its mother, and nothing to rely on except its sense of smell and a surprisingly muscular pair of front arms with tiny claws, this jelly bean has to climb. It drags its microscopic body out of the birth canal, claws its way up through a dense jungle of maternal fur, and scales the kangaroo's belly like a solo mountain climber tackling Mount Everest. If it loses its grip and falls, it is over. Mom cannot pick it up. Her paws are way too big and clumsy. But if it makes the climb, it crawls over the rim of the pouch, dives inside, and latches onto one of 4 internal milk teats. Once it locks onto that teat, the teat actually swells inside the baby's mouth, anchoring the joey in place for the next few months. Now at this point, any normal animal would sit back, relax, and focus entirely on raising the fragile baby safely tucked inside her pocket. The kangaroo does not do that. Within days of giving birth, while that tiny jelly bean is still firmly clamped to a teat in the pouch, the mother mates again. The sperm travels up the side tunnels, fertilizes an egg in her second, currently vacant uterus, and forms a new embryo. This brings us to an obvious logistical crisis. If she is already raising a tiny joey in the pouch, where does the new baby go when its 33 days are up? The pouch is occupied. A second newborn climbing in there would crowd out the first one, deplete resources, and cause the whole system to crash. Evolution solved this problem by inventing a biological pause button called embryonic diapause. The moment that first joey in the pouch starts suckling, the stimulation sends a hormonal signal, primarily through a hormone called prolactin, straight to the mother's brain. That signal tells her body to halt the development of the new embryo sitting in her second uterus. The new embryo divides until it reaches roughly 80 to 100 microscopic cells, forming a tiny sphere called a blastocyst. And then it just stops. It freezes in time. It does not grow, it does not divide, and it does not age. It sits suspended in metabolic cryosleep inside her womb, waiting on standby for weeks or even months. Think about that for a second. While the current baby is growing in the pouch, Mom is keeping a microscopic backup file safe to the cloud, paused at 80 cells, ready to boot up the exact second a slot opens up. And the cue gets even wilder. Fast forward 6 to 8 months. The joey in the pouch has grown fur, opened its eyes, and graduated to exploring the outside world. It is now what biologists call a young at foot. It spends its days hopping around on the grass, but it still runs back to mom whenever it gets hungry to stick its head in the pouch for a drink. Meanwhile, because the older kid is no longer constantly clamped to the teat, the hormonal brake pedal lifts. The paused 80-cell embryo in the second uterus wakes up from suspended animation, finishes its development, and gets born. It climbs up the fur, enters the pouch, and clamps onto an empty teat. And almost immediately, mom mates again, conceiving a third baby that immediately goes on pause in the other womb. If you are keeping score, that means a single mother kangaroo is simultaneously managing 3 distinct offspring across 3 different stages of development. She has a toddler hopping around on the ground, a delicate infant nursing inside her pouch, and a microscopic embryo frozen in cryogenic sleep inside her uterus. It is a literal 3-lane conveyor belt of continuous reproduction. Managing 3 kids at different ages is chaotic enough, but it creates a massive chemical puzzle. A running, jumping toddler on the ground needs high-fat, high-protein energy to build bone and muscle. But a fragile, hairless newborn inside the pouch cannot digest heavy fats. It needs simple, carbohydrate-rich nutrients to develop its internal organs. If you feed toddler milk to a newborn, you kill it. If you feed newborn milk to a toddler, it starves. How does the mother solve this? By turning her body into a dual dispenser beverage station. The mother kangaroo possesses 4 separate teats inside her pouch, and her body can program them independently. The teat being used by the newborn in the pouch pumps out clear, carbohydrate-rich milk tailored for early organ growth. Right next to it, the teat being used by the older toddler outside the pouch dispenses thick, high-fat, high-protein cream. She is running 2 completely different chemical recipes through adjacent glands at the exact same moment. She is essentially a walking dairy laboratory running custom orders for different demographics. Why? Why would nature build an animal with 2 wombs, 3 vaginas, a pause button on pregnancy, and a split formula milk bar? The answer is the villain of this entire story, the Australian climate. The Australian outback is one of the most unpredictable, unforgiving environments on Earth. It does not follow reliable, cozy 4-season cycles. It operates on brutal extremes of sudden booming rainfall, followed by years of devastating, scorched earth drought. If you are a standard placental mammal, like a deer or a horse, reproduction is a massive, high-risk financial gamble. You invest nearly a year of heavy metabolic energy carrying a massive fetus inside your body. If a severe drought hits 8 months into your pregnancy, you cannot easily abort without massive biological cost. And if you starve, both you and the baby die. The kangaroo's over-engineered system is the ultimate risk management hedge fund. By keeping her internal gestation down to just 33 days and outsourcing the rest of the baby's growth to an external pouch, the mother keeps her physical investment dirt cheap. If an apocalyptic drought hits and food completely vanishes, her milk dries up and the joey in the pouch sadly does not survive. But the mother herself barely loses any body weight, meaning she survives easily. And the moment the drought breaks and green grass shoots out of the red dirt, she does not have to waste weeks searching across hundreds of miles of empty desert to find a mate and start the process from scratch. The pause button releases. That 80-cell embryo she had sitting on ice in her second womb instantly wakes up, resumes its 30-day countdown, and delivers a brand new baby straight into the pouch, restarting the entire family tree with 0 downtime. Evolution did not make the kangaroo strange just for the sake of being weird. It turned her into a relentless, self-regulating, triple-buffered survival machine designed to outsmart famine, outlast drought, and keep the assembly line rolling no matter what the planet throws at her. So the next time you feel completely overwhelmed trying to balance your schedule, take comfort in knowing you do not have to raise a toddler, nurse an infant, and keep a third child on chemical standby across 2 separate wombs. Mother Nature already built that machine, and she is hopping across Australia right now.